Alright, hey you guys, this is TsubakiSwagg and I'm coming to you with my review of Parasyte the Maxim, episode 17, The Adventures of the Dying Detective. And the name just speaks for itself, this episode. Oh my gosh. Genuinely, I feel like I really wasn't prepared. I always say that, but I really was not prepared for this episode. Of course, it picks up where the last one left off at. We see like Ryoko, she is being cornered by the three conspirators in the Parasyte group, and they are out with the intent to kill her. And she mentions in the last episode that parasites let off two signals. One is of animosity, and the other one is the intent to kill. So she had prepared herself for a fight, and she was like, "So you honestly believe that all three of y'all can beat me?" And I was correct as far as Ryoko being able to handle herself. And she flung herself into a construction area and went in. Like, she started fighting the oldest one of the group, and he was like, "My strength alone is higher than yours, so I could beat you by myself." And she like severed off a part of her body and sent it into him and literally exploded him from the inside, which was actually pretty dope. But while he was convulsing and walking around not being able to control his body because of Ryoko, I can't remember his name, it starts with K. He's not really important, but he followed Ryoko's body because like her body was still intact, but it's pretty much like her brain that went into the man's body. So he went after her body, and she was literally like running down the street laughing at the top of her lungs, like the creepy laugh that she did when she was first figuring out how to smile and laugh. And these couples see her, like she runs past them and they flip out. And I probably would have done the same exact thing if I saw a woman with the top half of her head missing and sharp teeth run past me laughing. I would have went in the opposite direction. I wouldn't went to go check on her. I sure enough wouldn't have done that. I would have called the police and left. But of course they went after her like some dumb people. And when they got to her, the woman, like, she had a whole face and everything. Ryoko changed her face, and she was talking to them, and they were like, "Well, we just saw this woman with no head run past us, and you have on the same clothes, so we just wanted to make sure you were okay, blah blah blah." And she was like, "Well, half a head, that's it. Well, that's definitely not me because my head is empty." And she pulled her hair and her head split, and they fell on the ground screaming. And the man who was following her was like, she's pretty much without reason because she severed off half of her head. She really doesn't have the thought process to think correctly. So she continues running around laughing with half of her head missing, and and he continues to follow her, and they end up like, then they show the older man, like he's walking around and trying to figure out how to work his body because Ryoko was controlling it from the inside, and she blew him up, and then she went inside the girl's body, and that's when the man showed back up. And he saw that the girl like wasn't able to control herself, so he was fighting her, and then he killed her. And while he was cutting her up, Ryoko popped up behind him and caught him off guard. And she cut him up, and he was like, "How were you able to sneak back in here without me noticing?" And then this is when she mentioned again that the two signals that parasites let off are animosity and the intent to kill. And when he cut up his ally, even though she was his ally, when he cut her up, she let off that signal of animosity. And when he cut her up, all those pieces let off that same signal. So it was a good enough disguise to cloak her coming into the building without him realizing it. And then she was like, "Have you ever thought about like where you're going and where you came from and where you're going, like most humans would think in this situation?" And then he died. So Ryoko did best all three of them without really even having to fight for real. So Ryoko is awesome. So the next day we see Ryoko. She is like, well, Shinichi's trying to call his dad. He's not at the hotel that he was supposed to be at. So he tries calling home, and Ryoko answers the phone, and she's like looking through his baby pictures on their computer. And Sneaky looked so cute when he was a baby. But she was looking through their baby pictures, and she asked him because she had gone home and the door was unlocked and her baby was gone, and the detective or the PI left a note on her baby's crib saying, "Meet me at the park at 5 o'clock tomorrow," and it said Detective Sherlock Holmes. So like when she was talking to him, she asked him where the park was and told him to meet her there at 5:20 because she had something that she wanted to give him because he is the bridge between Parasyte and human. So that call ended, and she was looking at the pictures, and she was like, "A mother, huh?" And she thought about killing Ryoko's mom because, I mean, technically Ryoko's mom wasn't her mom, but it was the body that she took over. So the next day, that day, she goes to the park, and Sneaky, of course, goes to the park. And while all this is happening, right before she started to go, Murano was at the house, and she talked to Ryoko. Ryoko pretty much told her that not to worry about Sneaky, that he'll be fine, and he'll be back soon, and he'll be better than ever, pretty much. And Murano was still trying to talk to her. She walked away. So Murano was walking. I guess she was walking to school with her friends, and she just so happened, like, she was walking and the bus was going by. Sneaky was on the bus. She saw him, so she ran after the bus, and she wasn't able to catch it. She saw Ryoko. She ran after her. Ryoko pretty much ditched her. Like, she faked her out. And Ronald just got upset, and she ended up at the park for some reason. I don't even know how she would have even thought to go to that park. But she ended up at the park. Sneaky was walking around, and Ryoko confronted the detective, and the detective, of course, had her baby, and she was talking to him, and he was pretty much saying that you're a cold-blooded monster. Even though you're a cold-blooded monster, you still have like feelings towards your baby, blah blah blah. So he threatened to throw it off the, like, over the ledge, and Ryoko let off a signal. Migi never says what type of signal it was, but Ryoko lets off a signal. That signals Migi to know where she is, and this was when she saved her baby. Like, he was literally about to, like, throw it over the edge, and she saved him, and she saved her and stabbed the detective in the stomach. So, of course, he was about to die, and he was like, well, she surprised him because he didn't think that she was going to actually, like, try to save her baby. So, he was thoroughly surprised, and he fell over the edge, and then Ryoko got the baby and walked away, and went on his dying breath. He told the other detectives because the girl was, like, running, and she found them. And they were talking to him, and he was trying to get him to tell who his partner was because he never said. So they mentioned it. He never said who Sneaky was. He just said his partner, and he pretty much said he asked where Ryoko was, and he told him that she was carrying a baby and she has on a white dress. So just look for that. And then when he tried to ask who the partner was, he never said it. He just said it was a boy who had a great loss and lost his family and went through a lot of suffering, but he never said who the name was before he passed away, which was awesome because I was like, yes, that means that Sneaky can live on just a little bit longer. And then they started searching the area for a woman in white with a baby, and they even held up this woman that literally looked like she was about to pee on herself. But then, of course, Sneaky happens upon Ryoko, and Murano was, like, sitting on a bench in the snow, wondering why in the world she was there. And then it ends with Tamiya Ryoko turning around and her and Sneaky looking at each other. So this episode, oh my gosh, this episode was so freaking awesome. I want to know. I don't know what I want to know. I just want to know. I don't know. This episode was freaking amazing. Oh my goodness, really just was not prepared at all for this episode. But as always, I would love to hear how you guys feel about this episode. How do you feel about the way things turned out? What do you think is going to happen now that Ryoko has a chance to talk to Sunichi? I think that she might give the baby to Sunichi, but then that would be kind of weird because he's like a high schooler and she's giving this little baby to him. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But as always, please remember to comment, thumbs up, and subscribe. It helps me a whole lot. And this is TsubakiSwagg saying adios.